could you tell me a bit about the new electricity supply contract and why it's such an environmental win for the community?
The various sites that we've got around council, or the various sites that we have electricity for, they go out to different contracts, and we have something called the small sites electricity supply agreement. So that's obviously, as the name suggests, for lots of our small sites. There's a significant amount of electricity that council uses, and the total supply contract for that is in the vicinity of getting close to $1 million per year. The current supply agreement that we have now expires at the end of this year. So we went out to the market, out to a tender for an electricity supply agreement for the next 10 years. And we go for that longer time frame because we believe we can get better pricing when we go out for that longer time frame, because whoever we choose as that supplier has got certainty for that long term. So the prices that came back, we got a variety of prices that came back for normal supply of electricity, but also we were keen to explore the idea of getting 100% renewable, or green power as the name is, for that supply. And as it turned out, what was fantastic news for council is when we were considering all those tenders, the one that we chose was with Shell Energy Retail. It was a green power, so 100% renewable energy, but that was a saving of about $120,000 per year over the current supply agreement. And for most people, when they look at renewables, they have this idea, and it's a myth, I believe, that renewables will cost you more. But over the long term, because you're not having to keep feeding material into renewables like you do with a coal-fired power plant, for example, then the long-term prospect for renewables is actually quite good from a pricing perspective. So that 10-year contract will save council, save the residents of Dubbo Regional Council, about $1.2 million over that 10-year time frame.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And do you know kind of what type of renewable energy that one is at all?
It's not something that was actually part of that process. The process is that it is green power. That renewable energy could be solar, could be wind. It's basically something that's up to the supply agreement to make sure that they're providing that green power. So it may change over that 10-year time frame. There seems to be more of a push towards wind power at the moment. Seems to be more of a push, certainly in this area, the renewable energy zone that we're in. There's a lot of solar at the moment. I think we'll see more wind power. So from our perspective, we don't mind whether it's wind, we don't mind whether it's solar. It really is just making sure it's 100% renewable energy, and that's exactly what that green power agreement will be. So from our perspective, from council's perspective, it's a win for the environment. We're using green power, but also obviously a win for the bottom line of council. And that's really what we're trying to achieve at council at the moment. We're trying to make sure that we are looking at the environment, we're looking at climate change, we're trying to do the right thing overall by our community, but we also want to do it at something that isn't adding horrendous costs. And in this particular scenario, the fact that it's cheaper and good for the environment, I think that's a double win.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And what else is council doing to achieve its towards 2040 net zero plans, aside from this recent development?
We've had solar panels on a number of our buildings for a number of years. In fact, I remember many years ago when the Western Plains Cultural Centre opened up the area that had a lot of the artworks in there. There's certain conditions before certain artists will allow their artworks to be displayed. There's certain conditions that need to be met in terms of the humidity and the temperature. And for example, the Archibald exhibition, we've got the full Archibald finalist exhibition coming to Dubbo again next year. And this will be the third time in my memory that we'll have that full Archibald exhibition. They don't take all those precious artworks to just anywhere. They take them to places that have the right conditions. Now, to run that creates or uses a lot of power. So many years ago, we put about 70 kilowatts of solar panels on our Western Plains Cultural Centre. And that's something that we've done to a number of our buildings and we'll keep doing to a number of our buildings. So that's something that's been in train for some time. But another new project that we've got has already gone through a part of the way there. We've gone through council to put it out on public exhibition. It's out on public exhibition at the moment. Then we'll come back to council for final ratification. And that is to do with our electric vehicle policy. In the past, when our fleet managers looked at the cost of electric vehicles, they've been more expensive than traditional vehicles. So the 68 light vehicles we've got in our fleet have typically been petrol engine vehicles. But the total cost of ownership is something that's more and more a focus for electric vehicles. So even though you might pay more for that vehicle up front, the long-term view is that you'll save money on petrol, you'll save money on maintenance, and the resale value of that vehicle is stronger. So the final report that went through to council, as I say, a month ago, was basically looking at not the upfront cost of that vehicle, but the 4-year total cost of ownership. And when you look at that, electric vehicles, equivalent electric vehicles in the market, are very cost effective. So once that policy comes back, assuming there's no major changes to that, that will allow those staff, when they come time to renew their vehicles, then that will allow them to have the option to go to an electric vehicle instead of a petrol vehicle. And we're hopeful that staff will choose. They're not being forced to. Staff will choose. They'll volunteer to go that way. And that'll be a huge difference if we can get all those 68 light vehicles changed over from petrol vehicles to electric vehicles. I'm not familiar with any other council across the state that has such a policy going down that path yet, so we'll be really leading the way in terms of changing over the entire fleet. Of course, my car, the Mayor's vehicle, is electric, and the first time the Mayor's vehicle was electric was way back in 2015. Dubbo City Council, as it was in those days, was the first council in the nation that had the Mayor's vehicle, the official mayoral vehicle, an electric vehicle, so we're really trying to lead the way in that area as well.
Yeah, that's really fantastic, some of those developments